There we go. Right. Hi, guys. I'm on F1 Fanatics, and we are also joined today by a special guest, the F1 Debate Show. So, guys, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yes, hello, we are the F1 Debate Show. My name is Jordan.
My name is Lyle.
Yeah, and I just want to thank F1 Fanatics for having us on today. Yeah,
thank you. Cheers.
No problem at all, guys. Thank you very much for coming on the show. So it has been a couple of weeks break since we've done a show. Zach's just going to take a break from the show for a while. But we are back with this obviously special feature, F1 Debate Show, joining us to round up events at Spa and look ahead to Monza. And also it's the second half of the season. So we are in a league together and we're going to see who came up on top in the league in this week's show. So if you guys don't know what F1 Fantasy is, it is basically just a fun little app you can play with your friends. You pick 5 drivers and constructors, and those points add up and see who comes out on top on the weekend. But first of all, guys, Spa, and we're going to talk about the big winners. And I suppose the big winner this week was Charles Leclerc.
Yeah.
What do we think of Charles Leclerc, guys?
Good win. Very good win. I think maybe a little bit, well, I would say expected from Ferrari this weekend, because there was predicted that the car would be very strong this weekend, wasn't it? It's a track that suits their engine, it suits their car in a way. And to be fair, I think Leclerc deserved the win, because not only of the events that occurred this weekend, but the fact that he lost the wins in Bahrain and Austria, and it was just like redemption. It was like redemption once again. Like, it seems to be like a trending thing, isn't it? Redemption in Formula One, and I think Leclerc has definitely, redeemed himself for those 2 mishaps.
Yeah, definitely.
Not his fault, of course, but yeah, I think Leclerc deserved the victory. Shame Ferrari couldn't get the 1-2, but I think next round is certainly going to be more important for a 1-2 than this one.
I think it's important, yeah, but I just can't believe that
Ferrari getting strategy call correct for at least one of their drivers, which this season hasn't necessarily been their strongest suit. So it definitely deserved from Charles Leclerc, and overall, I'd say a fantastic performance across the whole weekend.
He scored 44 points on this weekend, which was the highest of all the drivers without a turbo. But I suppose probably looking ahead to a next big winner, and probably a good one to go and talk to you about, Lyle. 26 points. So if you turboed him, that gave you a nice 52 points for the weekend. So yeah, what were your thoughts on that, Lyle?
I think it's amazing. Obviously, just adding on quickly what Jordan said. I was doing the review on Sunday for us, so he's got that he gave his points first. Definitely great for him. Probably not backed as a winner, a normal casual win. Obviously, a lot of people probably had Lewis Hamilton in, hoping that he'd have got a good amount of points. But yeah, Charles Leclerc, amazing from him. And a bit of an outsider as well. So yeah, it was a fantastic week for him, and obviously great for the fantasy if you did have Charles as well, and obviously Ferrari as well. So first and fourth for them, that would have been a good haul of points. But yeah, amazing for Charles, really good.
So it was amazing from Charles. And what was your thoughts on Albon?
Definitely very, very strong from him. As I said before, obviously Max Verstappen won his first race with Red Bull. I wasn't expecting him to do that. But I think that was absolutely amazing. Pierre Gasly has only been in the top, higher than that position once in China, so it shows that he's definitely a strong driver. The main thing for Albon is, and the thing that everybody says, including the other British drivers and things like that, is that Albon has only driven in a Formula One car this season. He did 12 races in a Toro Rosso. He did 1 simulator test in Milton Keynes before he was put in the seat, given a seat fitting, and then the only testing he's actually done in that Red Bull car is the 3 hours of practice, the 45 minutes of quali, and the 100-minute race in Spa. And to get that result after that is incredible. For him also, but yeah, for the Fantasy League, of course, again, if you had him, that would be amazing as well. You guys, one of you's put Albon third place, I'm sure, for the podium. which was a little bit, out of whack. I don't think I'd put first place like Verstappen did in Spain. But yeah, amazing. And to be honest, I don't think I'd have put him fifth. And Verstappen crashed out the race. So Albon actually outperformed Verstappen in his first race in the Red Bull. And that's incredible. And if you didn't watch the race and you didn't know Verstappen crashed out, then you will think, you're like, Albon, that's an amazing drive from you. And how come you beat Max? But yeah, I was very impressed. And let's see how he does the rest of the season.
Certainly does, but it certainly seems like he has hit the ground running in that team. And we spoke about, we did a video of Gasly versus Albon and what success would mean for them in Spa. And obviously for us, Albon's absolutely smashed that. And we said that his smoother driving style would suit that Red Bull car. And it really seems like it paid dividends this weekend, because coming from the back, I know it's a superior car, but back to fifth, and obviously the benefit of the Giovinazzi and Norris retirements at the end, but it's still a fantastic drive for him for his first go out, wasn't it?
Definitely, yeah. Really amazing. We've obviously talked about trading places before. Trading places war. I don't know if that's actually a word. We just say that because that was what happened. There was a lot of talk after Verstappen and Kvyat swapped places. This one was less talk, but there was still a lot of kind of debate around it. And obviously, I was a Gasly fan, and I had a lot of stuff, and you probably know. And I didn't really understand the move. So again, I wasn't expecting massive things and probably thinking, well, Albon will be another Gasly. This race just was absolutely incredible by him, and yeah, to get to fifth place is just unbelievable. But of course, I'm not counting him to be amazing for the rest of the season consistently. This might have only been a fluke. We'll have to see what happens, as I say, for the coming races. And obviously, if Red Bull are happy enough and they'll retain him for next year. But as we said in the training places thing, and as many people have said in the Formula 1 community, it looks like they're just testing the water to see if who is better. Is it Albon as a Gasly, or it could be even Kvyat for the 2020 seat alongside Verstappen at Red Bull?
Yeah, no, completely agree. It is just that testing view, isn't it? And it was a fantastic drive from Kvyat as well. But I suppose next good team to probably talk about, he was another big point scorer. What did Checo get? 21 points. So if your turbo team, he got 42. So that was only 2 points less than Charles Leclerc. What are your thoughts on Racing Point's improvement? Obviously, they brought those big package updates before the summer, and then a new front ring this race. What was your thoughts, Jordan?
For me, Racing Point, one of those teams where you've got to watch out for now, because the guy at the top, Lawrence Stroll. He's absolutely minted, isn't he? He's loaded with money. He's going to be putting loads of developments into this team, loads of R&D. Money towards that R&D rather. And Racing Point is just going to be a team that will be getting better and better and better. How good they'll get, I don't know, but it's certainly helping that they have got a lot of money behind them, and I think there will be one to watch. Probably maybe not for next season, but for 2021, they'll definitely be secured Checo, and more than likely they'll have Lance Stroll at the helm. So those two drivers, securing those drivers early, will help them. But coming onto this season, I think getting these upgrades at Spa, at a track where power and aero can really help you in the race. It did help them, of course it did. I think Lance Stroll got into Q2 for the second time this season. So again, that's progress in itself. That the fact that Lance is improving at qualifying, not just with his performance, but with the car as well. So that will certainly help Racing Points, what's it called, morale, if you like, in terms of going forward. But I think Racing Point was definitely probably one of the teams of the weekend, if you like. But just behind Ferrari, I think Ferrari did a solid job all weekend. But yeah, Racing Point certainly did impress me this weekend.
Nice. It is nice to see. I think they've always been a manufacturer who've outperformed, obviously under the name of Force India, outperformed their resources. Ash, what's your thoughts on it?
As you say, they've always been a team that have done better than you would expect, and you're used to seeing them in and around that best of the rest area, able to pick up a good result here and there. So for them to get back to that sort of stage would be really good, as it would add that extra team to that midfield battle that has been so varied so far this season. The one thing I would say that is letting them down is the driver pairing. I just don't think Lance Stroll is competitive enough to challenge Perez. And I know we've discussed it a couple of times, but it feels as if Perez has just got comfortable in that seat, and the 3-year contract almost shows that. So to take that step up that the team would be expecting, they need to get a driver in that is going to be pushing Perez to be performing every single week at the highest level. So you never know, with Hulkenberg potentially not on the grid next season, it might be a future option for him to end up back at the
Well, if that happens, that'll be Ash. If that happens, that'll be his 3rd time at the team, because he joined them, left to Sauber in 2013, came back to the team, left, and then he'll be back. So that'll be his 3rd time. But I think that. Sorry, I know. Just quickly moving on to Hulkenberg. Obviously, there's no rumours that he will go to Racing Point, but yeah. To lose a seat in Renault, but he definitely deserves to stay in Formula One. You know, Hulkenberg is not a driver, even though I've said so many times, Hulkenberg, he's been in Formula One for 10 years now. He's only had one pole position to his name. That's not great. To be in there and kind of tread water for so long is not the best stat. He needs to pull something out of the bag. But then now that he has been let go by Renault and he's not going to be in Formula One, you think, oh no, I'm missing Nico Hulkenberg because he's such an amazing driver. So as you said that, Ash, you know, Nico to Racing Point again, the 3rd time, could be a good option for him. But obviously he's got his feelers out for other teams as well. So
it is, as you say, it's seeing what seats do actually open up for him. But he's one of the consistent drivers, and I think that's what will draw definitely the midfield teams and those looking to take that step up to actually trying to give him that seat.
I completely agree. I think that probably rounds up the big point scorers of the weekend. Also, I think probably an honourable mention to Daniel Kvyat coming from the back and finishing 7th. It was in the end. I thought that was a fantastic drive, and as good as what Albon's drive was, I thought Kvyat's drive in a Toro Rosso that didn't seem to have pace in the weekend. The race pace I thought was absolutely fantastic, his drive there, and obviously a double points finish with those late retirements with him and Gasly was again good for Toro Rosso in the constructors. Probably moving on, first big loser, we'll combine them together, were Verstappen and Raikkonen in that first corner incident. I was watching Chaz's incident report video today, and obviously he was like going, I think he was leaning more to it being Kimi's fault because there was a lot of room for him to kind of allow space for Verstappen through the corner, but I think it was a bit of half a dozen of the other, and they were both at fault for the incident because Verstappen didn't need to be aggressive that early into the race, and Kimi could have allowed him a bit more space. So obviously Verstappen going out, getting -4, and Kimi getting 2 points, trailing back at the end because obviously that floor damage he sustained to the car. I'll stick with the Red Bull theme, going with you, Lyle. So what was your thoughts on that first corner incident?
Well, I mean, La Source is an incredible corner. You know, not just its profile, it's off camber as well, but it's just had some amazing crashes over the years. You know, I remember 1998, the crash just going around La Source, one of the worst crashes, most expensive crashes Formula One's ever seen. And obviously 2012 as well, we all remember that, Romain Grosjean, Lewis Hamilton, and even last year with Fernando Alonso and Charles Leclerc. So it had some brilliant crashes and overtakes in the past. And this year there was obviously going to something happen in La Source, like there always is. One of the things that I said on our review show was Ayrton Senna's famous quote that a lot of people probably know from the documentary, which is, if you don't go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver. Meaning that you can kind of force somebody, you know, through that. You have to force yourself through that gap. Obviously, when Raikkonen was going around the corner, he saw Max, or he knew probably Max was going to be there. Max is not the driver to back off. He's going to squeeze you out. If you remember Spa 2017, he did exactly the same thing to Kimi in the Ferrari. That had bad consequences again. They both got minor damage, but obviously this one ended a lot worse. Verstappen was obviously not going to back out of that. And Raikkonen also was not going to back out of that because even though he's only in the Alfa Romeo, he is a big, strong driver. He's been in Formula 1 for many, many years. And again, they both weren't going to back off. If you actually want an example of somebody who did back off, Lance Stroll in the Racing Point, he actually averted around them to go on the outside of La Sauce because he didn't want to get involved in the tangle. Raikkonen squeezed Verstappen out. This caused Raikkonen to flip, so he got damaged. He also damaged Verstappen's steering column, which made him crash out into Radion, into the barriers. So it's definitely a racing incident. It's one of my favourite incidents, to be honest, to see because it just showed the willingness of both drivers that they both weren't going to give up. They both weren't going to Verstappen was never going to yield, and neither was Kimi. And it just shows how strong these drivers actually are. To commit to the corner. They both wanted the space, and obviously there wasn't enough space for either of them. I thought it was absolutely. The start was amazing, and I wouldn't say anybody's at fault. And somebody said in the comments of our review that said that Verstappen wasn't at fault, or I didn't give Verstappen say that he was at fault, which he should have been. But to be honest, I don't think anyone was at fault. It was definitely a racing incident, and if it happens again in Italy, which it probably won't. But if it happens again in Italy, then it'll be fine there as well because it's just a racing incident. It was great to see as well that both those drivers still had it, but obviously on the side of Verstappen, it was very heartbreaking to see him retire for two reasons. Obviously, one because he's third place. He was probably in touch and distance of second yesterday in terms of points. Now he's 24 points, I believe, behind Valtteri Bottas in the drivers. And there's a lot of Dutch fans that come down to Belgium to watch him. And again, like you just mentioned about the Fantasy League, was it -3? And obviously a lot of people would have backed Verstappen to be the race winner or to get a good haul of points. Not so much Kimi. I think Kimi's probably the person who you just fill in at the end. When you've got you need someone else who doesn't cost that much money. But yeah, Verstappen, very unlucky for him. A lot of people in the league will have been annoyed about that because he should have gotten 10, 20 points from that. And and as a driver, that's not very good because he's now in third place, 24 points behind Valtteri Bottas, in catching distance of Vettel, or Vettel can catch him, I should say. So obviously he needs to do a ride in Monza. That should have been that should have beat what he did in Spa. But yeah, it's a shame to see him retire. But it was a good incident, and I'll say nobody was at fault.
Yeah, no, completely agree with that. It was a racing incident, and it is great. It's what we like to see: drivers on track, competing hard, and kind of fighting for positions. They both took a risk, and that risk didn't pay off in that race and affected both of them. But on another day, one of them might have come out on top, and it might have benefited them more in the race. I think now, Jordan, moving on to your McLaren, their first double retirement of the season. Carlos Sainz, if you turboed him, which he's been a popular choice for turbo, being so consistent recently, you would have taken that -14 and got a -28 into it. And then Lando Norris, heartbreak on that last lap, retiring, engine failure there. Oh, that Renault engine still with its reliability issues. As a McLaren fan, what are your McLaren thoughts on that, Jordan?
Well, first of all I'm going to say is that it's sod's law that we joined the league. We started our fantasy team, in both McLaren's DNF. McLaren's main constructors, our constructors, and Carlos Sainz was our turbo. It's just typical, absolutely typical. I hate doing fantasy stuff because of things like this. I don't do it in football as well because it's the exact same thing. But in terms of from a McLaren's point of view, it was just so disappointing that I didn't know what to expect coming into this weekend. A lot of people were saying that McLaren weren't going to be there or thereabouts, but some people were. So I was a bit I wasn't really too sure what to expect. To be fair, I've been quite on the fence with McLaren when it comes to going into the races. I'm they might do well, but they might not do well. You don't really know, and I think Zach Brown said at the start of the season, probably I think it was a testing, he said something like, in some races we're going to be the fourth quickest team, but then in some races or some tracks we're going to be the ninth quickest team, or the ninth slowest team rather. And that's something I've kind of kept with myself, the fact that, right, okay, we might not be up there, but you can only hope. And Belgium was a track that it didn't really suit the power unit. Ferrari's power unit, the engine, it holds that power very well. And it's like Mercedes, Honda, and Renault, they're all scratching their heads as to like, how can they cope with this power for so long? And it was always going to be a problem. But when Norris, overtook everyone after that melee at the start, up to P5, and then I seen the two Haas's behind him, I'm like, oof, a sigh of relief, because I can't, no disrespect the Haas, but I can't really see them catching the McLaren, because I knew their race pace car was going to be rubbish. So going off into the distance, but then before that, Carlos Sainz stalling at the start. I'm like, oh no, okay, right, he can recover, he'll be okay. And then obviously the tyres, yeah, heartache for that. And then just when things couldn't get any worse, Norris pulled over at the side of the track. I didn't see it on live TV because I was too busy engrossed in watching Leclerc trying to get his first win, and then cuts back to Simon Lazenby or David Crompton or whoever, and Lando Norris is out of the race. And I'm just like, oh my god, really? So yeah, not a good weekend. Well, not a good race overall, but I don't know how we'll fare in Monza, but I think my eyes are certainly looking at Singapore. I think we could have a good result there. I think that track suits our car quite good.
I think McLaren have done quite well at the technical circuits, but Ash, what was your thoughts on McLaren obviously being such a strong team in the past, probably 4 races before this, and their failure yesterday?
It's almost as if it was a race that was coming for them because of how well they've been performing. When you look at that midfield battle, every other team has had a race where they've performed well and then have had one where they've just dropped off completely. So based on the season itself, it was expected that McLaren would have a poor race. I'll be honest, I didn't expect it to go that badly for them. When you look at them, they seem to have got over the reliability issues that they had at the start on the whole. And then Lando Norris has obviously had a few races where he's been incredibly unlucky with things that have happened for him. So for it to end up being both cars that had it shows that there was an issue with the clutch and gearbox system as a whole. So for Carlos Sainz not to have his anti-stall kick in the pit lane for one, and then for Lando Norris to actually have it when he was on the pit straight for that final lap. Yeah, there just didn't seem to be something right as a whole with the system. So it was an unfortunate race, and I'll be honest, for my team, I did have Carlos Sainz. Well, for the F1 Fanatics team, I had Carlos Sainz as the turbo driver. So yeah, I took quite a major hit on that one.
Yeah.
So
Yep, chin up there, Ash.
yeah.
Oh dear. I think that probably rounds up our big winners and losers fantasy wise of the Spa from the weekend. Now I think we'll probably take a look. We started a league for these last 9 races of the second half of the season, and the F1 debate show boys joined in. Currently out of us, I'm sitting 3rd in the league. There's 9 people in the league. Very nice there. And Ash, do you want to tell me where the F1 Fanatics official team is doing in there?
Yeah, so we didn't have the greatest of weekends, and we're sitting 8th at the moment. We only scored 57 points, but
It's a strong performance.
yeah,
It's a strong performance.
as I did say though, a big chunk of that is down to the Carlos Sainz aspect. We also had Max Verstappen in there as well, so there was another -4 points as well. So yeah, the big games we had in some aspects, we lost mainly on those 2 drivers. So hopefully a better performance in Monza for us.
And then Ash, do you want to give the points total of the F1 debate show, boys?
So, taking McLaren as being your team definitely didn't help, and you scored 44 points. So you are currently 9th in the league.
Not too bad.
But much the same, you had Carlos Sainz as your turbo driver as well as Max Verstappen. So teams quite similar there. So it was just a bad weekend because of events that happened at the start more than anything.
It's a marathon, not a sprint, boys. It's a marathon, not a sprint. You get ready.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's what they're saying to Williams.
So 8 races to go. I'm optimistic. I'm very optimistic.
Do you guys, do you want to talk us of how you're feeling down there in 9th place currently?
It's a very lonely position. I think we're last, aren't we? There's only 9 of us in the. Is there only 9 of us in the group?
It is 9. Yeah, I didn't want to say last.
We're the Williams.
We are plumb last.
We are the Williams of this league. Ugh. Why are we the Williams? Why are we so bad? But if we're the Williams, that means that we were good a few years ago.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So we're looking like that. I think really we need to. Well, to be fair, I was pretty optimistic with the team. I think we had Wrighton in there. We had Sainz. We had Charles Leclerc in there, who of course won the Grand Prix. Alex Albon and Max Verstappen. So really, I should have really got all the Ferrari engineering and probably Mercedes, but of course he was limited with money. But I'm optimistic with the next round in Monza. I think Verstappen hopefully will stay out of trouble. Albon, no grid penalties, as far as I'm aware, no grid penalties. So hopefully he can have a good show in qualifying, have a good race. Leclerc, he's going to be up there. He definitely will be. And probably anybody else gets faster better in that team as well. Because I think Ferrari are going to. I think this will be peak Ferrari this season, and I think Ferrari will have a good weekend in Monza as well.
Yeah, remember you do get one change a weekend, and that's across constructor and drivers. Charles Leclerc is probably your best bet if you want a Ferrari driver in, as he is really cheap still at 21.5 mil compared to Sebastian Vettel's 30 mil in your 100 million budget. So if you can make one change, would you make one change this week, guys, or are you just going to be confident and stick by it?
I'm confident. I think the drivers that we've got, I'm very confident with, because I was going to change off Sainz because I thought, no, you've let me down big time, but no, I think we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. If anybody else retires, or if all of our drivers retire, then I quit. No, I'm only kidding. But no, I'm not. Nah, I think we'll stick with our drivers. We've got Kimi there. Kimi in it, Alfa Romeo. It's a powerful car. It's got the Ferrari engine in the back. He might do well. He was my one to watch in the preview, or I mentioned him when we were doing the preview, because I thought Kimi knows the track well. 4 wins at Spa, powerful engine in the back of an Alfa Romeo, good track. So I would say, yeah, Kimi might score some decent points, only if the top 6 slip up at any given point. But then obviously that wasn't the case in Spa, so I'm not going to count my chickens just yet.
Nice. Well, looking ahead to Monza, I think what we'll do is, as our kind of look ahead, what we'll do is we'll each go through our kind of who we feel will do well there in terms of a constructor and a driver to pick to do well there. So, Lyle, do we want to start off with you?
I agree with Jordan and Kimi Räikkönen. He's definitely my one to watch this race in Monza. He got pole position last year for 2018. Obviously, yeah, he was in the Ferrari, but he does love this. He has won here before. Obviously, ex-Ferrari driver, the Tifosi really love him. Very much like Fernando Alonso as well, because obviously after Alonso left Ferrari, he still got a lot of support there, and that helped him because his abysmal years with McLaren Honda, he still managed to pull out some great results in Italy. So saying that, I do believe that Räikkönen will have a good race. Again, for Alfa Romeo, they use a Ferrari engine, which is the home. It's Italy. Alfa Romeo as well, obviously based out of Switzerland. That's like a home race for them. Italy as well. So I think they'll be strong. One of my other ones to watch is Danny Kvyat. Absolutely loving what I'm seeing from him this year. The guy who was outlooked in the promotion, to be honest, the guy who's been outlooked quite a lot, and that's in every single angle in Formula One. You know, a lot of people write him off. A lot of people don't think he's that good. And as I say, you know, he is kind of promoted when no one else is. He was demoted by Red Bull and then wasn't promoted this time. P7 for him was incredible. And again, going back to the kind of the look of the home constructor, obviously Toro Rosso is an Italian team. So with that, I hope that there is good support for him, good support for the team. When me and Jordan went to Italy, it's been so like when you go to Silverstone, when obviously you see all these Hamilton fans, when you see a few Norris fans, but then I really like the people who were wearing like George Russell stuff, you know, Williams stuff, and supporting the teams and the drivers who are kind of, you know, they're from that country, but they're not that prevalent. And when we went to Italy, there was obviously everybody was wearing Ferrari, but there was a few people that were wearing Toro Rosso, and I'll always remember the guys who I was standing next to when I went to the Monaco Grand Prix in La Roche. They were from Italy, so you'd think they were going to wear Ferrari stuff, but they were actually wearing Toro Rosso stuff, and I found that amazing. So with that being said, I hope that they get some support because it's their home race. Kvyat, yeah, fantastic from him. Gasly, I'm hoping that he has a strong race. The move doesn't seem to have affected him that much. You know, he's still a strong driver. He still has a chance for next year. Again, as I said, you know, that showed in Belgium. So I'm hoping that he does well. Toro Rosso, probably my team to watch. Alfa Romeo with Kimi, very strong. Antonio will want to, you know, rectify not crashing. And I want to say Ferrari, but obviously going into Italy, there's a lot of hype about Ferrari being amazing. So I'm kind of going to back off Ferrari a little bit because I think all of me saying that Ferrari, Leclerc and Vettel will be amazing after last week and blah, 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 might hinder them a bit. So I'm not going to talk about Ferrari. Big teams, Mercedes, I think they'll have a strong weekend, possibly you know, a good, strong performance by them. But with the engine problems that Mercedes had, and the other Mercedes constructors over the weekend, and obviously the crash Lewis Hamilton had an FP3, they have had a little bit of a confidence knock. Red Bull, yeah, very strong. Verstappen should do well here, as the Red Bulls have in the past. So teams to watch, probably Toro Rosso at the top. Ferrari, not counting me chickens as much as I was in Belgium. But yes, obviously, hopefully Ferrari can get back to where they want to be. And if they win in front of the Tifosi, which again, when me and John went to Italy, the Tifosi is incredible. You know, even when Ferrari don't win, they're still out on the main straight, you know, celebrating like they have won. Nevertheless, they'll be amazing. But obviously, if Italy win, if Ferrari win, they'll be going absolutely ecstatic. So yeah, they're my ones to watch. Ferrari, hopefully, should do well, but I'm not going to say they're going to win because I might jinx it. Yeah, so that was my ones to watch for Italy.
Nice. I reckon let's move on to Ash. We'll do a bit of a F1 debate show, F1 fanatics. Ping pong tennis one bouncing between us.
So driver wise, I'm going to say Alex Albon as being one to watch, mainly because he's going to have the opportunity to actually qualify in a position that's representative of where the car is. Obviously, having the grid penalties in Spa did restrict that. So giving him that opportunity to start nearer the front just so that he can get involved in definitely the first corner battle and seeing how he performs there. Team-wise, I'm going to say Racing Point. The car is usually quite slippery in a straight line, so hopefully they'll be able to keep that up in terms of the history that they've had in terms of their aero design. And it is just the fact that with the improvements that they've been bringing in and the upgrades that they've had, I think there's definitely the potential there for a best of the rest finish. I just don't know whether they've had it in them so far, but in a track like Monza, potentially having that opportunity there. So team-wise, definitely going Racing Point. Driver-wise, I'd also be interested to see how Gasly gets on. Yeah, it's one of those that I am a battle that I'm wanting to watch now because of the driver switch. But I do feel that definitely in the Toro Rosso, the car suits his driving style a lot more. So it would be good to see how he can get on and whether he'll be able to be challenging definitely with the McLarens and keeping up there. So they'd be mine to go for on this one.
Nice. And leading on to you, Jordan.
I would probably go with Ash on this one in terms of teams. I would probably say the Racing Point, bringing in upgrades in Spa, it's certainly encouraged, them to hopefully have a good performance. And a track like Monza where power is, is key, isn't it? What's it called? The Temple of Speed, I think it is in Italy. So I think the Racing Point is definitely a one to watch. And if you haven't, or if you're thinking about changing your team, your constructor rather in your fantasy team, certainly consider Racing Point, even though they're a team that nobody really talks about or nobody really like you don't really hear, I support Racing Point, do you? They're just like they're like my second team. They're like my third team, aren't they? They're one of those kind of teams. So yeah, I would certainly say Racing Point, but I think I've got to back my boys to say McLaren. Now I'm being a bit, a bit unsure with this one because of the trouble that we've seen in Spa, but they have had a good season so far. They will want to bounce back, and hopefully, fingers crossed, that we do see a good result from McLaren. But it's going to be so competitive in that midfield in Monza, isn't it? It's just going to be a case of what ifs and buts, isn't it? From McLaren all the way down to Haas, isn't it? So because the cars are going to be so more or less equal, it's all about power, isn't it? So it's going to be a tricky one. But I would probably say back my boys to go with McLaren. In terms of driver, I don't know. I might go with my boys. I'll go with Kimi Räikkönen. I'll say Kimi Räikkönen. If you want to have someone else in your team, either Räikkönen, maybe Sainz, one of those two. If you're looking for someone else to swap your drivers out. Kimi Räikkönen, he's had a very good season so far. Unlucky in Spa, like I said before, he should have had a really good result. That car is quick. He's had some good results here in the past. He's a former Tifosi, former Ferrari driver, former Tifosi favourite, world champion with Ferrari. He's going to be backed in Monza. So that support will probably drive him off. Then again, this is Kimi we're talking about. He's not really bothered, is he? He just turns up and then goes off onto the track and then comes back. And that's it, isn't it? I think Kimi should be in for a good weekend, but I did say this about Spa. Look how that turned out. But don't quote me on this. Don't follow my lead and then come back to me and go, okay, you were wrong, because I'm not good at fantasies, all right? I'm not good at fantasy leagues, all right? You've seen how unlucky we've been in the last run in Spa.
It could be a world difficult. It could be a world difficult, Jordan. Hey, look, you've got to back yourself here. You had a bad week. Don't knock yourself. You'll come back. Exactly. Hey, it'll be all right.
I know, but see, I've done I did the fantasy league last year. I've done football fantasies for a while now. I've put little coupons on in football. I'll go okay, three. I know teams for both teams to score, and then every single game will score apart from the three teams that I put a bet on. So that's like my kind of look. So I could say, okay, put this, and this driver, and then those three drivers will be the drivers that retire. So, but I know, yes, I should be optimistic. So yes, follow my lead, listen to what I'm saying, get Räikkönen in your team, get McLaren in your team, and if it all goes wrong, it's not my fault, right?
Brilliant. I think I am going to be boring on this one. I feel for your fantasy teams, if you haven't already, get Charles Leclerc in and get Ferrari in. Spa for me was the one that was a bit iffy. If they were going to seal the deal, if there was ever a Ferrari built for Monza, I feel it's this year's car. And that first win's going to give him that confidence. He's shown great pace throughout the season. And I feel now he's just going to go on. And Vettel will be wanting to do well as well. I can see them being a 1-2 or at least claiming 2 out of the 3 podium positions. And so getting the Leclerc and that Ferrari constructor good. And in terms of your driver to turbo, I reckon it's probably Carlos Sainz this week, because obviously he brought the engine upgrade this week and took the penalty. But Lando showed there was such a superior pace. I think it was about 17, 18 seconds between him and Sergio Perez before he was forced to retire. So on a circuit that I didn't think they'd be particularly strong at, there is still a significant advantage over the rest of the midfield pack. So I think he's going to be certain to come back strong. He'll be desperate to do it. Obviously, retiring on his birthday isn't a Great one. Not the best birthday present you could have. Chin up. Yeah, it was a bit of a horrible for him, but I'm going to back him to come back. But yeah, Ferrari's your constructor. Your outside constructor probably would be McLaren or Red Bull. I can see Albon having another strong performance, and Max has proven he's such a determined driver. He will be desperate to do well, whether the car can do it as well. But I imagine he'll take the engine penalty this weekend at Monza, like Albon did this weekend at Spa. So yeah, those are our roundup of everything that we think. We could be right. Listen to one of us. One of us may be right. Or we could all be wrong. This could be catastrophic. You've all had terrible fancy weeks. Like Jordan said, don't blame us. We're not going to be held responsible. Take responsibility for your own team.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I think that probably rounds up everything probably quite nicely, guys. Thanks again for coming onto this show. Obviously, we are big fans of your show, guys. If you aren't subscribed to the F1 Debate Show already, why not? You can go and subscribe to their channel. And yeah, I think the plan is to be on one of your shows sometime. But I know you guys got a busy schedule with lots of guests coming up, don't you?
Yeah, we've got one or two people coming on the show. One confirmed. We've got two confirmed, but one we'll have it like sort of like when this guy's going to come on the show. But yeah, I'm optimistic about this one. But yeah, obviously we'll have you guys on our show. So certainly watch if you're watching this video and are new to the F1 for Max channel. Certainly subscribe. Certainly subscribe to this channel. Really do like these two guys. They bring something different to F1 YouTube. We really do. So certainly stick around for these guys. And when you do see them on the show, don't be afraid. I know you're scared of our opening moves, but they're prettier than us. So come and watch them. Come watch our channel for them, just because they are prettier than us.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, guys. We will send over that £10 for the compliment later, and if you do the same for our compliments, I think we've all sorted there. Everyone's all there. Lyle, hopefully for you that Max Verstappen is back on form and you have a strong showing. Hoping for you, Jordan, that Carlos Sainz is back up there and Lando Norris, well, yeah, I imagine he'll take the engine penalty, but does well in the race for what he can do.
I will be wearing my lucky pants this weekend.
Super, fantastic, guys. But from me and from Ash, you got anything else to round off with?
No, it's just same as what Mike said. Thanks for coming on, guys. We really appreciate it as a channel that's just starting out, to be able to have you on and to have you showing your support. It means a lot. So thank you.
Yeah, as we compared ourselves in our driver, I think our mid-season ratings video, we're a Marussia top. And we are a Marussia team just starting our journey in F1, and these guys have given us our Mercedes engine. So we've getting a little bit.
We were at your level at one stage. We were, just making videos just because you like it and stuff. And then you're like, all right, maybe some videos aren't doing as good as what you expect, but you just got to keep on doing it. I mean, we're not at a level where we're free to show off about it, if you like. We're still progressing. We're still growing. We still got videos that are like, could be doing better. But at the end of the day, you do it because you love it. So we understand that the position that you guys are in. We were there once, so of course we'll show support. So whether you've got 100,000 or whether you got one, we'll always show support. Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. Can I say one thing as well before we end the show? Just because we're heading into Monza, it really opens your eyes to one thing that not many people have ever mentioned, is that Sebastian Vettel has now gone past a year without a win. Like, that's crazy. It's Ferrari's home.
That is mental to comprehend. That is such a good point to bring up, actually.
There's been two drivers.
Monza, but we'll wait to see, because I think Charles Leclerc has his number at the moment.
I think he does, but there's been two drivers, Kimi and Charles, that have won, and the four-time world champion, who's kind of supposed to be emulating Michael Schumacher, has not won. I just can't believe it. I was watching Spa and I was like, I can't believe this. It's like, well done to Charles Leclerc, and Ferrari are back, but the man who is the number one driver there has not won a race. It's crazy, and I hope that gets, because I can't believe four-time world champion Sebastian Vettel has not won a race this year. Charles has, Max has, Valtteri has, and of course Lewis has, and Seb not. It's crazy, but it's not really mentioned that much.
It really isn't. Yeah, it is crazy, but I think that's probably because outside of Vettel fans, he's probably not one of the most popular guys on the grid, which I think is slightly unfair. He's very talented.
Yeah.
He just kind of efficient, gets his job done, but obviously not within the last year. But yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I've said before, Vettel's turned into a bit of a Kimi supporting the team, but yeah, hopefully he gets a win. But to think though that we're actually saying that hopefully Seb gets a win before the end of the year. To be honest, Seb should have won a race by now, and I can't believe. I know Ferrari have only had one win, but I would have thought Seb would have won, especially when Valtteri has. And again, it's gone quickly back to that. So, Valtteri, but as Peter was saying, that Valtteri should be out of Mercedes, but he had 3 wins this year. Seb had none, and there was nothing wrong with him. So, but I hope Sebastian gets a win. He needs to. He's too good of a driver not to have a win. And I'd say he's gone past a year of non-win. That's crazy.
Yeah, no, completely agree. If he's going to do it, Monza is probably the place that he's going to be best suited to in the rest of the year. But yeah, guys, again, thank you so much for coming on. Guys, thanks for listening. Hope you have enjoyed the show. And you F1 fans, remember, keep racing.